I never expected my Aunt Miriam to leave anything behind for me, let alone something that would end up changing the entire direction of my life. She had always been the odd one in the family, quiet, observant, affectionate in her own strange, knowing way. When I was younger, she used to smile at me like she understood something I didn't, like she saw straight through whatever I thought I was hiding. As a kid, I thought that meant she could read minds. As an adult, I realized it only meant she paid attention. And then she passed. Suddenly. A silent heart failure in her sleep. No warning, no slow decline. Just a stillness that settled into the family like a weight. She was the one relative who remembered my birthday without needing Facebook to remind her. She was the only one who bothered to ask how I felt instead of what I did. And now she was gone. The day of the reading of her will, the sky was heavy with that soft gray that makes sound feel muffled. I arrived late mostly because I didn't want to be there. My parents were already sitting stiffly in their seats. My cousins were present in their usual competitive silence, waiting to hear who got what antiques or money. No one thought I would get anything significant. I sure didn't. But when the lawyer, an elderly man who looked like he lived inside file cabinets, rummaged through the stack of documents, he pulled out a sealed envelope with my name handwritten on it in her looping script. My breath caught. "For you," he said. The room fell quiet. I could feel my cousins glancing at me, suddenly aware I existed. I opened the envelope with numb fingers. Inside was a short note, just a few sentences. "My dear Evan, if you are reading this, I am gone, and the truth can no longer wait. I leave you my home and everything inside it, but only if you fulfill my last wish. Live 1 year as the person I always knew you truly were. You will understand soon. With love, Aunt Miriam." I stared at the words. They made no sense. Live 1 year as the person she believed I truly was. Was this some metaphor? Some moral puzzle? Some cryptic message I was supposed to interpret? My mother leaned over. "What does it say?" "Nothing," I muttered quickly, folding the note before anyone could read it. "Just sentimental stuff." But the lawyer continued reading the rest of the official declaration aloud. "To my nephew Evan, I leave my entire estate, contingent upon him residing in the home and honoring the personal instructions left for him." Cousin faces dropped like stones into water. My heart hammered. What instructions? What was she talking about? I felt like I had been given a locked door with no key. After the meeting, I stayed behind. The lawyer slid a small ornate brass box across the table. It was warm to the touch, though it had no reason to be. "She told me to give you this," he said. "Only you." Inside the box was a single key, old-fashioned, iron, heavy, and a folded paper. Opened it. "Everything begins in the wardrobe." That was it. No explanation. No guidance. Just one more mystery. I spent the entire drive to her house trying to convince myself this wasn't strange. People left sentimental riddles in wills all the time, right? Maybe she wanted me to take up sewing or painting, something artistic like she used to be. Maybe wardrobe was symbolic. But the moment I stepped into her house, it felt different. Not cold or abandoned. Alive, almost. As though she had only stepped out for a moment. The scent of her lavender oil still lingered in the air. Her books remained stacked on the coffee table. A cup still sat on the kitchen counter, washed and turned upside down. It felt disrespectful to breathe too loudly. I walked through the house slowly, the key heavy in my hand. I didn't know what I was looking for until I reached her bedroom. It was the wardrobe. All carved wood. The one she never let anyone touch. The one she always kept locked. And now the key fit perfectly. My hands trembled as I turned it. The doors creaked open with a sigh, as though the wardrobe itself were tired of secrets. Inside was not clothing, not at first. A letter sat on the top shelf, addressed to me. "Evan, if you are opening this, you are ready for the truth. Everything I left here is yours to discover. Don't be afraid of what you find. Don't be afraid of who you become. Start by trying on what speaks to you first." I swallowed hard. And then I looked down. Inside the wardrobe hung dresses. Shirts. Blouses, wigs, shoes, makeup kits, accessories arranged with care. Not costumes, not playful dress-up things, but a full, functional wardrobe of a woman my size. I stepped back, breath caught in my throat. This was what she meant. This was her last wish. Felt impossible. Absurd. Insane. I reached out to close the wardrobe, but my fingers brushed against a dark blue dress, silky and soft. A strange warmth shot through my chest like déjà vu, like recognition. Something deep in me, something buried, stirred faintly. I yanked my hand away, startled. No, I whispered to myself. She must have been mistaken. But the note echoed in my mind. The person I always knew you truly were. How could she think this about me? What did she see? What truth was she talking about? That night I barely slept. The wardrobe stayed open in my mind no matter how tightly I'd closed its doors. Her home was silent, but inside my head everything was loud. Questions, fears, confusion. But there was something else too. Pull. Quiet, unspoken tug. Like the wardrobe wasn't finished with me. And for the first time in my life, I was afraid not of what I might find, but of what I might already know. I woke up the next morning with a heavy feeling in my chest, the kind that comes from dreams you can't quite remember but somehow still feel. Aunt Miriam's house was unnervingly silent, as though it were waiting for me to make the next move. The wardrobe loomed in my thoughts like a shadow stretching across the floor. I told myself I'd ignore it. I'd make breakfast, clean a bit, walk around town, look through her old photo albums. Anything but open that wardrobe again. But when I walked into her bedroom, my eyes went straight to it, as if pulled. The doors were closed now, even though I was certain I'd left them open the night before. Chill ran through me. Maybe I had closed them without remembering. Maybe I was just tired, grieving, confused. But then I noticed something impossible. The key wasn't in the lock anymore. It was placed neatly on top of the wardrobe. I swallowed. This is stupid, I whispered. Keys don't move on their own. Still I didn't touch it. I walked away. I tried to distract myself. Sat at the kitchen table, opened my laptop, tried to browse the news. But my eyes kept wandering to the hallway that led back to her room. It felt like the house was breathing, waiting. And then the phone rang. The landline. The one no one used. The sound jolted through the quiet house. I hesitated before picking up. Hello, said. A long silence. Then a familiar voice, soft and warm. A voice I hadn't heard since before she died. Evan. Froze. Oh. No, that was impossible. It couldn't be her. Hello, I whispered. Who is this? But the line clicked dead. I stood there, gripping the phone, my heart pounding so loudly it drowned out my thoughts. It had to be someone playing a cruel joke. But the house was too isolated. The phone line too old. The voice too unmistakable. When I put the phone down, a cold certainty settled into my bones. Something in this house was not finished with me. By noon I couldn't take the pressure anymore. I went back to her room, grabbed the key from the top of the wardrobe, and opened the doors again. The clothes inside looked even more vivid in daylight. The fabrics were soft, elegant, almost glowing. There was something strangely comforting about them, something that felt familiar. Her note still sat on the shelf. Start by trying on what speaks to you first. I shook my head. This is crazy. She didn't mean this literally. But another folded paper caught my eye. It had been tucked behind the earlier note, as if waiting for me to be brave enough to see it. I unfolded it slowly. You must complete the year. Living here. Living as her. Living as you. If you fail, the inheritance dissolves. If you embrace it, the truth will find you. The inheritance. Or home. Everything she had ever built. Full year. Her. As the person she believed I was. I sat down on the edge of her bed, the paper trembling in my hands. Aunt Miriam, what were you thinking? I whispered. My mind raced, panic, confusion, disbelief. But underneath that storm was something else. An ache. Curiosity. A strange, uneasy pull that made me feel like I was standing on the edge of something life-changing. I reached into the wardrobe again. This time my hand didn't shake. The blue dress. The same one that had pulled my gaze the night before. I touched the fabric. It was cool and soft like water running over my fingers. Just once, I murmured to myself. Just to see what she wanted me to understand. I closed my eyes and pulled it from the hanger. It felt heavier than I expected, like it carried memories I didn't have yet. My chest tightened. What was I doing? But the room felt warm suddenly, as if someone was standing behind me, watching gently, waiting. I slipped the dress over my head. The fabric whispered down my skin, settling around my body with surprising ease. I had expected it to feel strange, wrong, maybe even humiliating. Instead, it felt like stepping into a memory I didn't know I had. I walked to the mirror. The sight of myself made my stomach drop. It wasn't that I looked feminine. My face was still mine, my stance awkward, my hair a mess, but something about the outline, the shape of the dress, the softness of the fabric. It felt right in a way I couldn't explain. Not like a costume. Not like a joke. Like recognition. I raised a trembling hand to my reflection. What is happening to me? My legs went weak, and I sat down hard on the bed, burying my face in my hands. My thoughts were a swirl of fear and confusion. But beneath all of that, a whisper rose. This is what she meant. This is what she saw. This is the beginning. I stayed like that for a long time, caught between two worlds. Who I thought I was and who she believed I truly could be. When I finally stood, the dress swayed gently around my legs. Felt grounding. Challenge. A dare from someone who knew me better than I knew myself. And I realized then that I had only two choices. Walk away and lose everything she left me. Maybe even lose the chance to understand myself. Or step fully into the year she asked of me. A year of becoming someone I didn't yet recognize. A year of discovering why she had left all this behind. A year of uncovering a truth she died protecting. My voice shook as I said it aloud, to the empty room, to her memory. I'll do it. The wardrobe seemed to sigh softly, as though relieved. And something unseen, something patient and gentle, moved closer. This was only the beginning. The next morning felt different, as if the house itself had shifted while I slept. Light filtered softly through the curtains, warmer than before, almost inviting. I lay still for a moment, listening to the quiet hum of the world beyond Aunt Miriam's walls. It was strange. Yesterday I had felt trapped, pressured, cornered by her impossible request. But today there was a subtle calmness in the air. The blue dress hung over the back of a chair across the room. I stared at it for a long time. Had I really worn it? Had I really stood in front of the mirror like that, studying myself with a mixture of fear and recognition? A shiver went through me. But I didn't regret it. If anything, my mind kept drifting back to the feeling of the fabric. The way it softened something inside me that had been tense for years without my noticing. It wasn't about femininity. At least, not entirely. It was about something that had been waiting quietly beneath the person I had performed as all my life. I got up, washed my face, and stared at my reflection. My hair was messy. My eyes looked tired. My body looked neutral, caught somewhere between two versions of myself. A year, I whispered to the mirror. You promised her a year. The words felt heavy and powerful all at once. I went back to the wardrobe, hands unsteady but willing. Inside was an entire world she had prepared. Clothes sorted by season, shoes lined up neatly, drawers full of makeup arranged with almost obsessive precision. There were wigs too, beautiful ones, natural and soft. It was overwhelming. But beside them lay another note. One day at a time. Start small. She grows as you grow. She, I repeated quietly. Did she mean the identity? The version of me she imagined. The person she thought I truly was. I wasn't ready for dresses again. Not yet. But something softer, something simple. That felt manageable. I chose a pair of leggings and a long, oversized cream sweater. The kind of outfit countless women wore casually without thinking twice. When I put it on, it didn't feel like a costume. It felt like comfort, like stepping into a warmer version of the morning. My reflection surprised me in a different way this time. Less dramatic than the dress, more subtle. My silhouette looked gentler, my posture relaxed, my expression softer. I didn't know if I looked like a woman. But I definitely didn't look like the guy I used to be. My chest tightened. "This is happening," I whispered. "I'm actually doing this." The first few days were clumsy. I moved awkwardly, unsure of how to walk in softer clothes or how to sit without feeling self-conscious. I avoided mirrors, avoided thinking too hard about who I was pretending to be or becoming. But the house guided me. Every morning I'd find something slightly rearranged. A drawer left open, a new note slid under my door, a light turned on in a room I hadn't entered. I tried to rationalize it. Old wiring, drafts, my own forgetfulness, but deep down I felt it. Aunt Miriam was still here, watching, guiding, nudging me forward. Each note seemed to know exactly where I was emotionally. "Try makeup when you're ready. Listen to how your body moves. Don't fear softness." Toughness. That word lingered in my chest for days. I practiced makeup clumsily. First just concealer, then a bit of mascara. The first time I got eyeliner even remotely straight, I almost laughed out loud. My reflection looked different in ways that made me uneasy and curious all at once. I didn't look like a woman yet, not really. But I looked like someone trying to find herself. And the more I tried, the more natural things felt. My voice softened without meaning to. My movements shifted. My thoughts even flowed differently, not in some mystical way but in an emotional sense. More open, more vulnerable, more honest with myself. I wasn't just wearing women's clothes anymore. I was beginning to live inside them. The challenge wasn't just external. It was internal, accepting that some part of me didn't resist this transformation, didn't push it away. Some part of me welcomed it, even needed it. One afternoon, while sorting the clothes in the wardrobe, I found a sealed envelope I hadn't noticed before. My name was written on it again, the ink slightly smudged as though touched recently. Inside was a single sheet of paper. "You are becoming who you were always meant to be. The world hid her from you. I am only helping you meet her." I sat on the floor, the note trembling in my hands. Who I was meant to be. The words wrapped around me like a whisper, warm and terrifying. Was I really changing? Or was I revealing something that had always been there? Over the next few weeks, I ventured outside the house. First just to the mailbox, then for short walks around the neighborhood. I dressed androgynously at first, scared of being seen, scared of being judged. But slowly I grew braver. A scarf here, a softer hairstyle there, a pair of boots with a little lift. No one stared. No one laughed. No one cared. And that small freedom expanded something in me. I started journaling, something I hadn't done in years. My handwriting even began changing, the letters rounding out naturally, as though shifting with me. Some evenings I would sit at her vanity, brushing out one of the wigs, watching the woman in the mirror slowly come into focus. Not fully, not yet, but emerging like a ghost learning how to be alive again. Adaptation wasn't a single moment. It was 1,000 tiny ones. The first time I wore lipstick in public. The first time I introduced myself at the cafe without stumbling over my name. The first time I looked in the mirror and didn't immediately look away. The wardrobe became less intimidating. The clothes became familiar. The reflection became someone I wanted to understand. And somewhere beneath all of that change, a quiet truth was building, waiting for me to be ready. The year had only just begun. But the person I was becoming, whoever she was, had already taken her first breath. By the time a month had passed, the house no longer felt like a stranger's home. It felt lived in again, not because I occupied it, but because she was beginning to. Whoever she was, the version of me that Aunt Miriam had seen long before I ever dared imagine anything different. I didn't realize the shift was happening at first. It came quietly, like the slow bloom of dawn, soft, gradual, Impossible to pinpoint the exact moment the light changed. One day I noticed my voice sounded different when I spoke to myself in the mirror. Another day I realized my old clothes felt foreign, the fabric rough against my skin, the cuts wrong in ways I couldn't explain. Then, one morning, I put on a simple burgundy dress without hesitating. Not because I felt obligated. Not because of the inheritance. But because it felt right. The realization startled me. I stood in front of the mirror, fingertips grazing the neckline. Who am I becoming? I whispered. For the first time, the question didn't scare me. I walked through the house that day with an airy calmness. Sunlight trailed after me, catching the soft sway of the dress, warming my bare legs. Even the floorboards seemed to creak gently, like approving sighs. The house wasn't haunted, not in the frightening sense. It was loved by her. Loved into a presence that didn't want to scare me, only guide me. That afternoon, while dusting the living room shelves, I found a hidden compartment in the side table. Inside was a small photo album. I opened it, expecting old family pictures. Instead, the pages were filled with someone I didn't recognize. At least not at first. A young woman, smiling shyly. Hair brushing her shoulders. Soft features. Gentle posture. Eyes uncertain but searching for something. I turned the pages slowly, feeling my heartbeat flutter. On the 6th page, something inside me cracked open. The woman in the photo. She looked like me. Not exactly. Softer around the jaw, more delicate in the brow, but unmistakably me. I sat down, the album trembling in my hands. "Aunt Miriam," I breathed. "What did you do?" There was a handwritten note tucked into the back sleeve. The first pictures of the girl you couldn't see yet. Taken when you were young, when you slipped into the clothes you thought no one knew about. But I did. I kept your secret until you could keep it for yourself. My breath hitched. Memories rushed back. Not full, clear ones, but fragments. Closing my bedroom door when I was small. Running my fingers along fabrics I didn't understand. The feeling of softness I didn't have words for. Moments I had buried. Dismissed as childish confusion. Moments she had seen. Moments she had protected. I pressed the heel of my palm to my forehead. Overwhelmed. She knew. She always knew. Even when I didn't. Tears blurred the album as I whispered. "Why didn't you tell me sooner?" A breeze brushed my cheek. The room was still. But I could feel her presence. A gentle, almost maternal warmth. I wasn't angry. I wasn't ashamed. I was exposed. Open in a way I had never allowed myself to be. That night, I stood at her vanity, staring at my reflection in the dim lamplight. The burgundy dress hugged my frame softly. My makeup, light, uncertain, framed my eyes with a hint of something new. I didn't see a man pretending anymore. I didn't see a mistake. I saw a possibility. "Who are you?" I whispered. The reflection didn't answer, but she looked back at me with something familiar, something I was ready to name but afraid to say aloud. I touched the glass with my fingertips, shivering. And then, for the first time, the truth didn't feel like a threat. It felt like a hand reaching out in the dark. A week later, the emotional shift became impossible to ignore. I was in town, wearing a soft cardigan and skirt, hair pinned with small silver clips I found in the wardrobe. My steps were quiet, careful, but not hesitant. I stopped at the cafe. The barista, a girl about my age, smiled and said, "Good morning, hun. What can I get for you?" And it wasn't a joke. It wasn't mockery. It was normal. I felt my throat tighten as I ordered. "A vanilla latte, please." My voice shook slightly, but she didn't flinch. She didn't stare. She didn't question. She just nodded and went on with her day. When she called out the drink, she didn't use my old name. She didn't know it. She simply said, "Latte for the lady by the window." The word lady hit me like a soft blow to the chest. My hands trembled around the cup. I wasn't sure if I wanted to cry or laugh or run. But I stayed. I sipped my drink. I breathed through the storm inside me. Because it wasn't fear that filled me. It was relief. A slow, tender warmth spread through my body. Recognition. Validation. Awakening. Walking home, I realized something profound. The world wasn't fighting me. The world wasn't rejecting me. The world was simply waiting for me to step into myself. That night, standing in front of the mirror again, I finally said it aloud, even if just a whisper to myself. I think I'm her. The reflection softened, as if relieved. I touched my collarbone gently, feeling the faint pulse beneath. I wasn't done changing, far from it. But for the first time in my life, I wasn't resisting the woman rising inside me. I wasn't afraid to meet her. I wanted to. And in that quiet moment, with the house warm around me and my aunt's memory lingering like a guiding hand, I understood. This wasn't just an inheritance. It wasn't just a challenge. It wasn't even about becoming someone new. It was about remembering someone I had lost long ago. Someone I had been forced to forget. Someone she had been protecting for me. The final shift didn't happen in a single moment. It wasn't a sudden revelation or some dramatic crash of identity. It happened the way leaves turn in autumn. Slowly, quietly, one gentle change at a time until one day you look up and realize the whole world is a different color. But the moment I recognized the truth, that came later. And it arrived like a whisper wrapped in thunder. It was early morning when it happened. The kind where the sky is still half asleep and the world feels too soft to touch. I stood in front of the wardrobe, running my fingers along the carved wood. It no longer felt foreign. Felt like home. It felt like an old friend waiting to help me take my next breath. Inside, everything had its place. Wigs brushed, dresses neatly hung, makeup organized by color and purpose, shoes lined like quiet soldiers waiting for their turn. My life had rearranged itself around these objects. More importantly, I had rearranged around them. I opened the wardrobe and took out a simple outfit, a light gray skirt, a fitted top, soft tights. Not flamboyant or bold. It was me. The me that felt honest. The me that didn't strain against the world anymore. As I dressed, I noticed something new. I didn't feel like I was performing. I didn't feel like I was stepping into a role. I simply felt like I was returning to myself. After brushing my hair and pinning it back, I sat at Aunt Miriam's vanity. The mirror reflected a face that had softened over the weeks. Emotionally, physically, spiritually. My features hadn't magically transformed, but the way I held them had. The way I carried myself. The way my eyes rested rather than fought. I added mascara, a touch of blush, a soft lip tint. Small things. Gentle things. Truthful things. When I finished, I looked at myself and didn't flinch. I whispered, "There you are." And for the first time, the reflection didn't feel like a stranger. She felt like someone I had been searching for without even knowing it. Around noon, I went into the attic, a place I had avoided since moving into the house. Something inside me said it was time. Dust motes floated through beams of light as I pushed open the creaking door. The space smelled like cedar and forgotten years. Boxes lined the walls, each labeled in Aunt Miriam's handwriting. Childhood. Family records. Heirlooms. And then, a smaller trunk tucked beneath a faded sheet, marked simply with my name. Froze. She had prepared this. Planned this. Saved this for me. My hands shook as I knelt and opened the trunk. Inside were more photos. More letters. More memories I didn't know belonged to me. The first letter sat on top, bearing her unmistakable script. My dearest girl. I knew you long before you knew yourself. Do not fear the truth. It has always loved you. My throat tightened. I almost couldn't breathe. I read the next lines slowly, heart trembling with every word. You were never hiding from the world. You were hiding from the mirror. And I knew one day you'd be strong enough to look and finally see her. Tears blurred my vision. Kept reading. The world put expectations on you before you could speak. Told you who to be, how to stand, how to act. And you tried, I know you did, but you never fit into the box they built for you. I saw your pain. I saw the confusion. And I saw the girl beneath it all. calling for someone to listen. Sob escaped me. I pressed a hand to my mouth as tears spilled freely. The attic felt smaller now, tighter, as though every object in it was leaning toward me, holding me, witnessing me. At the bottom of the trunk was a final envelope. I opened it with trembling fingers. A birth certificate. But not mine. Not the one I'd always known. This one was different. And it held a name I didn't recognize, but somehow knew intimately. A girl's name. A date of birth identical to mine. A note clipped to the corner explained everything. The doctor made a choice. Your parents agreed. They thought it easier. They thought it simpler. They didn't know you would grow up feeling the loss. My vision swam. The world tilted. My entire chest felt like it was splitting open. I whispered the name on the certificate. Quietly. Fearfully. Reverently. The attic seemed to hold its breath as the syllables left my lips. And then the truth hit me. Not like a shock but like warm water over frozen skin. This wasn't pretending. This wasn't a transformation imposed upon me. This wasn't an obsession or phase or challenge. This was restoration. This was reclamation. This was me. All those moments, touching soft fabrics as a child, feeling different without knowing why, the quiet ache I carried for years, made sense now. They weren't random. They weren't shameful. They were echoes. Echoes of a truth that had been buried, and was finally resurfacing. You saved me, I whispered to Aunt Miriam's spirit, to the air, to the house that had held me so gently. You saved me from a life lived in the wrong reflection. A warm breeze brushed my cheek. A soft presence settled around me like a shawl. I cried until I couldn't cry anymore. Until my body gave out. Until my soul felt emptied and filled all at once. When I finally stood, I held the birth certificate to my chest. I'm her, I whispered. Not as a question. Not as a fear. But as a truth. A truth that belonged to me. A truth that lived beneath my ribs. A truth that had survived even when hidden. When I went back downstairs, the house felt brighter. The wardrobe seemed to glow. And for the first time, my reflection smiled at me. Not as an echo, not as a possibility, but as the woman I truly was. Aunt Miriam had seen her long before I did. And now, I would live the rest of my life honoring the girl she saved, the woman she nurtured from beyond the veil, the self I finally had the courage to embrace. My truth. Name. My life. And as I whispered that name into the quiet of the house, everything inside me finally fell into place. Thank you for watching. Just tell me what you want next.